The day David graduated with his PhD, a video of me being assaulted by Professor Thompson in his office suddenly appeared on the large screen. David slapped me in the face and then led Ashley away from the venue. My mother, who had always been there for me, was so enraged that she died of a heart attack, and I was at a loss, unable to afford the exorbitant medical bills. Just then, Jason's mentor helped me settle the bill and personally performed the surgery, but it was too late to save my mother. With red and swollen eyes, he held me and confessed his long-standing affection for me, saying that he didn't care about my past and would be good to me for the rest of my life. 5 years later, at my daughter Lily's first birthday party, I overheard a conversation between Jason and his colleague. "You really had a plan, Jason. You encouraged the old professor to assault Emily Carter and release the video so that she would marry the director's son and take over the old man's position at the Mercy Hospital. Emily Carter's mom just happened to have the same blood type as Tiffany, so we could drain her dry for the blood reserve." Jason Miller said firmly, "Of course, nothing can go wrong with Tiffany's health." I felt like I had fallen into an ice cave. The salvation I thought I had found was just a scheme to exploit the last bit of value I had. I wiped away my tears and called the mafia boss, "Dad. I want to come home." The conversation continued. "But Jason, why did you marry that damaged goods? She has a rare blood type gene. The child she bears can be a mobile blood bank." Jason said calmly. "Ha ha ha ha, you're always thinking ahead." Laughter erupted from inside the room. My legs wobbled as I made my way back to the banquet hall. Tears streamed down my face as I watched my mother-in-law holding my daughter's hand. Suddenly, someone hugged me from behind. "Who's bullying you? Huh? Or did you hear someone gossiping?" Jason's thumb brushed across my tear-soaked face. These were the hands that had held me tightly after each of my miscarriages, telling me it was okay, we would have another chance. This was the face that had kissed me gently when I was swollen and disfigured from getting fertility hormones on the black market, telling me I was always his most beautiful wife. But it was all just to make my child provide healthy blood for Tiffany Hayes. My child, my pain, my sacrifices, were worthless in his eyes. I turned my head away from his hand. "It's nothing. I'm just so happy to see my daughter." Jason sighed in relief and put his arm around my waist, leading me to the cake. "Come on, let's get ready to count down and cut the cake." Suddenly, Jason's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, his expression softening. "Okay, I understand." After hanging up, he turned and knelt down in front of Lily, a loving smile on his face. "Lily, would you like Daddy to take you out to play? Daddy has a big surprise for you." Lily's eyes lit up, and she nodded eagerly. Then, Jason picked up his daughter and walked out. Watching their backs, I felt a slight tenderness in my heart. At least Jason still cared for Lily. He was, after all, Lily's father. Not long after, I received a call from the Mercy Hospital. "Mrs. Miller? Your daughter, Lily Miller, is in critical condition. Please come to the hospital immediately." I took the fastest cab to the Mercy Hospital. Jason stood outside the operating room. When he saw me rushing over, he hugged me with a grief-stricken expression. "Lily suddenly started vomiting blood on the way here. It's a spontaneous rupture of internal organs. I have a very important surgery right now. You stay here with Lily. I'll come as soon as I'm finished." My mind was in chaos, my heart clenched into a ball. I could only nod numbly. Fortunately, Lily was saved after several hours. The doctor told me to pay the bill, as Jason hadn't paid enough for the follow-up treatment. My tense nerves finally relaxed, but my legs were still weak. I almost had to lean against the wall as I walked to the payment window. As soon as I arrived, I overheard people whispering nearby. "Hey, did you hear? Dr. Miller is ruthless. Tiffany Hayes threw a tantrum in the office this afternoon, saying she hadn't been sleeping well and felt terrible. As soon as Dr. Miller heard about it, he insisted on giving her some kind of autologous blood transfusion to perk her up. There was already blood stored for Tiffany in the blood reserve, but she complained that it wasn't fresh enough. So Dr. Miller drew blood from his own daughter. And a normal child can only have 30 cubic centimeters drawn, but he drew 400. He almost killed her. What? How old is that child? What were they saying? Drawing Lily's blood, for Tiffany? Autologous blood transfusion? The so-called surprise was to tie my daughter to the operating table, draw her blood, and use it to invigorate his beloved woman? Hearing these words, my vision went black. Like a walking corpse, I staggered back to the ward. Lily's pale little face was bloodless. When she saw me, she forced her small eyes open and gave me a smile that was worse than crying. Mommy. I'm sorry. It's all Lily's fault. I suddenly fainted, and ruined Daddy's surprise. Looking at her, my tears flowed uncontrollably. After lulling Lily to sleep, I turned to look out the window. The night was dark. Jason still hadn't returned. Compulsively, I logged into a secondary account on my phone and clicked into Tiffany Hayes' moments. Feeling great this afternoon. I have to drag my senior colleague out for dinner to celebrate. Party popper, the background was that fancy restaurant I had always been reluctant to go to. The corner of the photo showed Jason's hand, wearing that expensive watch. He really had gone to be with Tiffany. My fingers trembled uncontrollably. I swiped down and saw the comments. Someone asked, "When are you free, Tiffany? Let's go shopping together." Tiffany replied, "I'm busy next week. I'm going to an island resort with my senior colleague and my husband for a week." Smiling face with smiling eyes. Jason was very busy with work, and we only spent 2 days in the surrounding area for our honeymoon. But now he was leaving Lily to go with them for a week. I slammed my phone shut. I stayed awake until dawn. Then, a text message from Jason came through. "Emily, the company has a last-minute business trip to a neighboring city for a week." More lies. I stared at the line for a long time. The area around my heart was completely numb. Then, I took out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't contacted in a long time. "Dad, I want to come home." There was a moment of silence on the other end, followed by a sneer. "Ha, you and your mother have finally seen the light. There are dirtier places than us in this world." "Yeah," I replied softly and hung up the phone. Jason didn't come home until the day after Lily was discharged from the Mercy Hospital. He shook a chocolate cake, vanilla cake in his hand at Lily. "Look! I brought Lily a present." Just as Lily was about to reach for it, I quickly pulled her into my arms. She had a shock because she was allergic to mangoes before. Seeing my displeasure, the smile on Jason's face froze. "Sorry, I forgot." I looked down at Lily. Her eyes were a little red, but she didn't cry. "I'm sorry," Lily wasted the cake Daddy bought. Jason looked apologetic and reached out to take her hand. "I'm sorry, baby. It's Daddy's fault. How about Daddy takes you to daycare/preschool?" Lily in my arms immediately grabbed Jason's arm. "Yay! Lily likes going to school with Mommy and Daddy." I swallowed the words of refusal. When I had finished dressing Lily in her school clothes, Jason had already reached the front door, leaving a sentence without looking back. Something urgent came up. "Lily, Daddy will make it up to you next time." The door slammed shut. Seeing Lily lower her little head in disappointment, I kissed her and forced a smile as I sent her to daycare/preschool. As we passed the community park, my hand was suddenly shaken violently. "Mommy! Doesn't Daddy have something urgent? Why is he kissing that auntie?" Following the direction she was pointing, I saw Tiffany Hayes standing on tiptoe, adjusting Jason's tie and then giving him a kiss. Jason was smiling happily. Lily is mistaken. That's someone else's daddy. I squeezed Lily's hand and quickened my pace. After sending her into the daycare/preschool, I went to the principal's office. Principal, I want to transfer Lily Miller to another school. Jason came home very late that night, covered in a strong smell of alcohol and rich perfume. Jason was obsessed with cleanliness, never wore perfume, and hated the smell of perfume on others. At first, I didn't know, and he flew into a rage and gave me the cold shoulder for several days. As I was thinking, I suddenly felt a hot hand on my waist, and then my body was pushed onto the large bed. Tiffany. Jason's mumbled words rang in my ear. Hearing this, I suddenly turned over and pushed him off the bed, but he entangled himself again. Tiffany. I love you. If it weren't for you, I would have been beaten to death by domestic violence. My body began to tremble violently, and a bold conjecture formed in my mind. When I was 8 years old, I asked my mafia boss father for the only time to help me drag a bloody little boy out of the basement. That little boy had a scar under his arm. Trembling, I tore open Jason's pajamas, and the light pink scar shone faintly in the moonlight. I only told Tiffany Hayes about this. So that was it. Tears welled up. The next day, Jason woke up from his drunken stupor, his tone apologetic. Emily, thank you for last night. It's nothing. Seeing my cold expression, Jason reached out to hug me. Suddenly, his phone vibrated. He smirked and got out of bed. I'm going downstairs first. There will be guests coming to the house later. After washing up, I went to my daughter's room to pack her luggage. The moment I pushed open the door, I was greeted by a disgusting scene. Tiffany Hayes was sitting in Lily's pile of toys, teasing her with a doll. Lily was giggling, her little face flushed. Jason was standing aside, his eyes so gentle that water could drip from them, a doting smile on his lips. They looked like a family of 3. A sense of mockery welled up in my heart. Lily suddenly stretched out her chubby little hand, curiously reaching for something hanging around Tiffany's neck. Slap! Tiffany pushed Lily away without hesitation. Lily was caught off guard and fell on her but on the floor with a wah. Lily! Seeing this, I rushed over and hugged my daughter tightly in my arms. Anger burned in my chest. I raised my head and was about to yell at Tiffany Hayes. Tiffany Hayes! Do you want to? Emily Carter! How did you raise your daughter? Seeing me open my mouth, Jason interrupted me loudly. No manners at all. Reaching out to grab other people's things. My gaze turned to Tiffany Hayes's neck, and my eyes were instantly stung. That was my mother's heirloom, which she prayed fervently for it at a holy site. I gave it to Jason to protect him from those who threatened with legal action years ago. I didn't expect him to give it to Tiffany. Watching Jason protect Tiffany without distinguishing right from wrong, the arm holding my daughter tightened slightly, and a cold smile curled on my lips. It's her grandmother's necklace. Of course, she wants to grab it. The anger on Jason's face instantly froze. He looked down at Tiffany's chest, a trace of panic flashing in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. So what? Tiffany likes the style of this necklace. Your mother has passed away. Don't be so petty, okay? Hearing Jason defend her, Tiffany immediately covered the necklace, her face innocent and aggrieved. Emily, don't be angry. Auntie was so good to me when she was alive. She wouldn't mind me wearing her necklace. She had the nerve to say my mother was good to her? She drained my mother's blood. My whole body was shaking. Then, I raised my hand and slapped Tiffany's hypocritical face. You poisonous woman! A large hand grabbed my wrist in midair, and the next moment, a huge force threw me back. Bang! Pain spread from my forehead, and blood flowed down my cheek. Mommy! Seeing me injured, Lily burst into tears. I looked up at Jason. His eyes were filled with disgust. Emily Carter, even if you're my wife, you can't touch Tiffany Hayes. She's the one who saved my life. After saying that, he grabbed Tiffany Hayes's wrist. Tiffany, let's go. Tiffany Hayes turned back and gave me a smug look, snuggling against him as they left. Lily was crying next to me, gasping for breath. I picked her up in my arms with one hand. Lily, let's go with Mommy, okay? We don't want Daddy anymore. She nodded with tears in her eyes, raising her little hand to my forehead. Mommy, it doesn't hurt, blow it. Suddenly, my phone rang. I answered it and heard my father's voice. Tonight at 9 o'clock, my people will pick you up at the West Side docks. Okay. As night fell, I took a cab with my sleeping daughter to the West Side docks. As soon as I walked in, I saw Tiffany Hayes and a man with tattoos all over his arms standing in the shadows of the containers. Tiffany Hayes's coquettish voice carried on the wind. Bruiser, find me a woman to test my new drug on. I need to publish a paper. The expected effect of this drug is to make women go into heat at the sight of even male dogs. My blood immediately ran cold. I hugged my daughter tightly and turned to leave this place of danger. Clang! Sleeping Lily suddenly kicked her legs and knocked over an empty soda can, making a harsh noise. My heart tightened. I grabbed my daughter and ran. I hadn't run far when my hair was grabbed hard, and I was thrown to the ground. Mommy! Lily screamed in fright, crying and struggling to break free from my arms. Seeing me fall to the ground, Tiffany Hayes slowly walked over, looking down at me with a vicious smile. Emily Carter, you're really my lucky star. I can use you to test the drug. Her gaze swept over Lily again. This little girl is quite useful, but... She leaned close to my ear and whispered, do you know? She's not Jason's child. She's the bastard of a homeless man. The children you miscarried were all found by Jason, to match my rare blood type. Wah, Lily seemed to understand and cried even more heart-wrenchingly. Hearing Lily's cry, the anger in my heart burned fiercely. I desperately picked up a stone from the ground, wanting to die together with Tiffany Hayes. But then, Tiffany Hayes suddenly staggered a few steps and fell to the side. But she was caught in midair by a pair of large hands. Tiffany! Jason Miller supported Tiffany Hayes and turned to look at me. What are you doing here? She found the hospital and cursed me at the entrance for being the homewrecker who ruined her life. I didn't want to argue with her, but she stubbornly followed me to the docks, trying to hurt me. Luckily, my senior colleague also came to help me test the drug tonight. Otherwise, my grievances would have gone unwitnessed. Seeing Tiffany Hayes pout aggrievedly, Jason Miller's scarlet eyes stared at me, the hatred in his eyes almost devouring me. No matter what I said, he wouldn't believe me. You vicious woman. Marrying you was a mistake. He stepped forward and kicked me hard, then picked up Tiffany Hayes and turned to leave. After the two had walked away, the tattooed man grinned and took out a rope to tie my hands behind my back. He took out a syringe from his pocket and injected an unknown liquid into my arm. Enjoy! He whistled lewdly, and several strong male dogs started out of the shadows. Seeing the dogs drooling and surrounding me, I widened my eyes in horror, struggling desperately to no avail. The drug took effect, and my body began to involuntarily cater to these beasts. Enduring the tearing pain and nausea, I struggled to turn my head and look at my daughter not far away. Lily stood there blankly, her small body motionless, unable to even cry. I closed my eyes tightly. After an unknown amount of time, a group of people in black suits rushed over and scattered the beasts. Someone rushed to my front. Seeing my disheveled clothes and wounded body, his eyes instantly turned red. My father took off his coat, wrapped it tightly around me, and roared, "Who did this? Who did this? I'm going to tear him into pieces." I completely lost consciousness, falling into my father's hot embrace. When I opened my eyes again, I was greeted by a snow-white ceiling. I quickly turned my head to look for Lily and breathed a sigh of relief when I saw her sleeping in a small bed next to me. I turned my head again to look at my father. The setting sun shone through the window, stretching my father's figure sitting by the window. "Dad." My voice was dry. He immediately got up, walked to the bed in a few steps, and lowered his voice. "Emily, don't be afraid. You and the child are safe. Rest and recover. Leave the rest to me." His tone was calm, but his eyes contained murderous intent. My father patted my hand and turned to leave. After walking out of the ward, Mr. Carter took out his cell phone and dialed a number, his voice cold. "Get me all the surveillance footage from the West Side docks." In less than 2 hours, the subordinate's call came back. "Boss, I found out that the person who hurt Miss Carter is nicknamed Bruiser. He's a local thug." After hearing this, Mr. Carter curled his lips into a cruel arc. "Invite him over." As night deepened, the tattooed man was thrown at Mr. Carter's feet like a pile of mud, his face covered with tears and snot, his crotch soaked. "Boss, spare me. I didn't know she was one of your people. Even if you gave me 100 guts, I wouldn't dare." Mr. Carter walked up to him. "Who ordered you?" It was Tiffany Hayes. "And that doctor, Jason Miller. They gave me money, to test the drug." Seeing Mr. Carter's unkind expression, the tattooed man trembled and revealed everything, like pouring beans out of a bamboo tube, including how Tiffany Hayes had asked him to test the drug at the docks and how Jason Miller had kicked me and left with Tiffany Hayes. After hearing everything, Mr. Carter's face was gloomy, his eyes filled with murderous intent. He waved his hand. "Throw him into the sea to feed the fish." "Spare me, boss. I don't want to die yet." The subordinate blocked the crying tattooed man's mouth and dragged him away. "Boss, let us go with you to kill Tiffany Hayes and Jason Miller." He smashed the gun at him. "Get out!" The anger in Mr. Carter's chest was burning, and he drove alone to Jason Miller's luxury apartment. Jason had just taken a shower and was wearing a bathrobe, looking through medical documents when the door was suddenly kicked open. Hearing the sound, Jason Miller turned his head and looked, his pupils contracting violently. Then, his legs went weak, and he knelt on the ground with a plop. It's you? Benefactor. Thank you for saving my life many years ago. I've always wanted to visit you, but Tiffany said you were busy, so there was never a chance." Mr. Carter's face was gloomy. He kicked Jason in the chest. "Oh, it's you. In that case, saving you must have been the last thing I regretted doing in my life." Jason coughed up blood, his face stunned. "Benefactor, what do you mean?" "My daughter saved your life. You even drained her mother's blood, harmed her child, and pushed her into that kind of hell." Hearing these words, Jason Miller was struck by lightning, his mind blank. "Your daughter, the one who saved me, was Emily Carter? Emily Carter? The tool he hated and kicked away?" Jason Miller's world completely collapsed at this moment. The life-saving grace he had always been grateful for and treasured was a scam from beginning to end. And he, with his own hands, pushed his true benefactor into the abyss. I hurt Emily." The muscles on his face twitched, and a huge remorse flooded him like a tide. What had he done? What had he done to his benefactor? Looking at the remorseful expression on Jason Miller's face, Mr. Carter sneered, rushed up, twisted Jason Miller's arm back, and made a crack sound. "Ah!" Jason Miller screamed in pain. Mr. Carter was expressionless, pulled a few thick electrical cords from the side, and tied him tightly to the couch. He tied them tightly, the metal edges digging into Jason Miller's wrist. He groaned in pain, trying to argue. "I didn't know it was her who saved me. Tiffany Hayes lied to me. I swear, shut up. Mister." Carter punched him in the stomach, his forehead veins popping out, his voice hoarse. "I'm going to repay you 10,000 times for the suffering my daughter has endured." He pulled out a knife from the toolbox he was carrying. The blade touched Jason Miller's chest, slowly cutting a bloody line. "The first cut is for Emily saving you back then, but you repaid kindness with hatred." "Ah!" Jason Miller screamed heart-wrenchingly, his body struggling violently, but he was firmly locked in place by the electrical cords. "Mister." Carter's eyes did not fluctuate at all. He turned the knife and carved off another piece of thin meat. "The second cut is for the blood of her mother that you drained." The pain layered on top of each other. The intense pain brought Jason Miller's consciousness to the verge of collapse. "Ah, spare me. Benefactor, no. Mr. Carter. I was wrong. I was really wrong." Jason Miller was weeping, his voice broken. "I didn't know. I really didn't know it was Emily who saved me. Please, give me a quick death, kill me." The huge remorse and boundless fear almost tore him apart. The physical pain was far less than the torment in his heart at this moment. "Mister." Carter watched him collapse with cold eyes, but his movements did not stop at all. The sticky sound of flesh separating was continuous, and blood stained the carpet under Jason Miller's body red. 27 cuts. "Mister." Carter shook his sore wrist. He stopped, looking at Jason Miller, who was slumped on the couch like a pile of mud. "Humph, this is just the beginning. Mister." Carter dropped the knife, turned, and walked to the kitchen, intending to simply get something to eat to replenish his strength. Only Jason Miller's heavy and painful breathing remained in the living room. The severe pain almost devoured him, and a strong instinct for survival erupted at this moment. He couldn't die. He hadn't atoned yet. Jason Miller gritted his teeth and moved his trapped wrist, enduring the severe pain. He forced his muscles to contract with the help of the pain and gave the dislocated right shoulder a sharp bump. With a crack sound, the joint was reset. His vision fell on the metal chair that bound his wrists. There was a weak spot in the welding edge there. Jason Miller used all his strength to align the electrical cords on his wrist with the weak metal edge, rubbing them back and forth. Each movement involved all the wounds on his body, bringing a tearing pain. Just before the kitchen door was opened, the electrical cords that bound his hands completely snapped. Jason Miller didn't care about the severe pain on his body. Almost instinctively, he crawled towards the vent in the corner of the living room. "Mister." Carter walked out with a glass of water. Seeing the empty chair, the bloodstains spreading on the ground, and the open vent, his pupils shrank suddenly. "Bastard! Mister." Carter was so angry that he was shaking, and the glass in his hand was smashed hard on the ground, shattering into pieces. Jason Miller dragged his broken body and found an entrance to an abandoned underground tunnel, struggling to crawl inside. He tore open his tattered shirt and examined the knife wounds left by Mr. Carter. 27 cuts, each one drawing blood, varying in depth, all over his chest and back. Fortunately, Mr. Carter only wanted to torture him and did not injure any vital points. Jason Miller took out a wrinkled small first aid kit from his pants pocket. This was a habit he had developed over years of practicing medicine. He gritted his teeth, performing a simple disinfection, suture, and bandaging with trembling hands. Guilt gnawed at his heart. But he hated even more. He hated Tiffany Hayes, that viperous woman. It was all because of her. If she hadn't impersonated someone back then, he and Emily Carter wouldn't be where they were today. Mr. Carter's torment, Emily's misery, all of it was thanks to her. Hatred surged in his eyes, and he pulled out his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed a number. Jason? What's up? I've missed you so much these last few days. Hearing Tiffany Hayes' coquettish voice, Jason Miller suppressed the metallic tang in his throat, deliberately deepening his voice. Tiffany, I've been busy with a big project lately. What kind of project? A groundbreaking new drug for cancer. It's basically a success, and I want to give you the results. Give them to me? Tiffany Hayes' voice instantly rose. Jason! Are you serious? Of course. Where are you? I'll pick you up, and we can talk about it in detail. Jason Miller chuckled softly. I'm at home. Come quickly. I'll be waiting for you. Tiffany Hayes was incoherent with excitement. Hanging up the phone, the warmth on Jason Miller's face vanished, replaced by a cold expression. He tidied himself up, stole a large coat to cover his wounds, found a nondescript used car, and drove to Tiffany Hayes' apartment building. Tiffany Hayes, her face meticulously made up, opened the car door and slid into the passenger seat. Jason, you're really my lucky star. Hearing Tiffany Hayes' flattery, Jason Miller turned his head, revealing an eerie smile. Yes, your lucky star. The air conditioner was on in the car, filling it with a faint, sweet scent. Jason Miller answered Tiffany Hayes' questions about the new drug absently, his eyes watching her reaction through the rearview mirror. Before long, Tiffany Hayes' voice grew softer and softer, and her eyelids began to droop. Jason, I'm a little sleepy. Her head lolled to the side, and she passed out completely. Seeing this, a ferocious grin spread across Jason Miller's face. He slammed on the gas pedal, and the car swerved around, speeding toward an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Jason Miller dragged Tiffany Hayes out of the car and tied her tightly to a broken chair with rope he had prepared earlier. Then, he splashed a bucket of cold water on her face. Ah! Tiffany Hayes screamed as she woke up, discovering that she was tied to a chair. She looked at Jason Miller in terror, her voice trembling. Jason? What are you doing? Where is this? Tiffany Hayes, tell me, who was it that saved me back then? Seeing Jason Miller approaching step by step, Tiffany Hayes' face turned deathly pale. Jason, what are you talking about? Of course, it was me. Still lying. Seeing Tiffany Hayes' eyes darting around, Jason Miller grabbed her neck fiercely. It was you. You tricked me. You hurt Emily Carter. Jason Miller's eyes were bloodshot. He pulled a syringe from his pocket, filled with a pale yellow liquid. Does this look familiar? He grinned menacingly, bringing the syringe close to Tiffany Hayes. Tiffany Hayes' pupils shrank suddenly. It was the aphrodisiac drug she had developed. No, Jason, I was wrong, spare me. Hearing her beg for mercy, Jason Miller showed no mercy. He stabbed the needle into Tiffany Hayes' arm and injected the drug. Tiffany Hayes' curses gradually turned into gasps, and her skin flushed. Jason Miller threw away the syringe, turned, and walked to a corner of the warehouse, where several large male dogs were chained up, their eyes glowing green. What you had done to Emily Carter, today, I'll let you experience it yourself. Jason Miller unchained the dogs. The rabid dogs, drooling, pounced on Tiffany Hayes, who was writhing with fever. In the warehouse, only the woman's shrill screams and the dog's excited howls remained. Jason Miller watched the scene, smiled with satisfaction, then walked out of the warehouse and dialed several media outlets' tip lines. Abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, DR. Tiffany Hayes will be releasing a groundbreaking new drug. It's huge news. Before long, several interview vans arrived, and reporters, carrying cameras and microphones, rushed toward the warehouse door. Quick! Get the headline. I heard it's a new cancer drug. Dr. Hayes is a genius. Bang! The warehouse door was kicked open, and reporters swarmed in. The flashing lights illuminated the dark space, and the next moment, everyone gasped. In the center of the warehouse, Tiffany Hayes, the once glamorous and shining star of the medical world, was now in torn clothes, her hair disheveled. Her eyes were glazed over, and she was tangled with several panting male dogs. Click! 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 After a brief silence, the flashes went off like crazy, the sound of shutters snapping one after another. Some people screamed and backed away, but more people excitedly pushed forward. Get a clear shot of her face. This is the biggest scandal of the year. What is she doing? With dogs. Quick! Live stream. Cut the footage. Live videos and shocking photos, heavily censored but still revealing, instantly spread to every corner of the internet. Hashtag Century New Drug Launch? No, a live broadcast of a human tragedy. Hashtag Exposing Tiffany Hayes' Rise to Power, Academic Fraud, Homewrecker Rumors. Hashtag Various sensational headlines dominated the trending searches on all platforms. Tiffany Hayes was completely ruined. She fell from the clouds into the mud, shattering into pieces, becoming the laughingstock and target of scorn of the entire internet. At the same time, in a luxury apartment downtown, I leaned back on the soft couch, watching the explosive news about Tiffany Hayes on the television screen. Looking at those scandalous images and words, I felt no sense of revenge, but instead, my stomach clenched, and I remembered that humiliating night. Who did this? Just as I was thinking, there was a sudden knock at the window. I turned my head sharply to look outside. The curtains were fluttering in the night wind, and a haggard, twisted face appeared outside the window. It was Jason Miller. How did he get up here? Before I could figure out a plan, he forced the window open from the outside and tumbled in. He staggered, grabbing the couch arm for support, his face pale, dark circles under his eyes, and dried blood at the corners of his mouth. Emily, I'm sorry. I was wrong. It's all that bitch Tiffany Hayes. She tricked me. She hurt you. His voice was weak, and he stumbled forward 2 steps. Can you forgive? The sound of the bedroom door being kicked open interrupted him. My father grabbed Jason Miller by the scruff of his neck, kicked him up, and then punched him in the face with the force of a gale. Dad, wait. Hearing my voice, my father and Jason Miller both turned to look at me. Jason Miller's bloodshot eyes lit up, filled with hope. My father released Jason Miller, his eyes full of astonishment and incomprehension. He didn't understand why I was stopping him. I didn't look at Jason Miller, who had fallen to the ground. My eyes were fixed on my father, and I reached out my hand, my voice terrifyingly calm. The gun, give it to me. Jason Miller's expression froze instantly. My father's pupils contracted sharply, the muscles in his taut jaw twitched, and the veins on the back of his hand bulged. Are you sure? Seeing me nod without hesitation, his calloused fingers hesitated, caressing his waist. Finally, the sound of leather scraping broke the silence. He pulled a heavy, black pistol from his lower back and placed it in my palm. The metal felt cold, yet surprisingly comfortable. I gripped the handle tightly, my knuckles turning white with force. I turned slowly, raising my arm without a tremor, aiming the black muzzle steadily at Jason Miller. The little hope left on his face shattered completely, replaced by extreme terror. Emily, you. His lips trembled, and he began to crawl backward, dragging a winding trail of blood across the floor. I clicked off the safety, pressing the muzzle against his forehead. I had loved this man with all my heart. But looking at his terrified, twisted face, I only remembered that hellish night, the revolting smell at the docks, the pain of my body being torn apart. I remembered my daughter's lifeless eyes. It had been a long, long time since she had spoken a word. I remembered my mother, who had struggled to raise me after leaving home, teaching me to be upright and kind. I remembered the new gray hairs at my father's temples and the tears he secretly wiped away. All the love had long been crushed into dust, leaving only bone-deep hatred and overwhelming rage. Jason Miller opened his mouth, a rattling sound coming from his throat, as if he still wanted to explain, still wanted to beg for mercy. What did he want to say? That he was wrong? That he regretted it? That he had also been tricked by Tiffany Hayes? Too late. Seeing my cold eyes, all of Jason Miller's words were stuck in his throat, turning into a desperate whimper. With a forceful squeeze of my fingertip, I pulled the trigger. Bang! A gunshot exploded in the silent villa, the blast ringing in my ears. The instant the gunpowder smoke rushed into my nostrils, Jason Miller's body jerked violently. He stared wide-eyed in disbelief, falling straight backward. The recoil threw me off balance, but my father steadied me from behind. A pool of blood spread beneath Jason Miller, soaking the pattern of the carpet. The room suddenly fell silent, with only my father's and my heavy breathing and the faint smell of gunpowder hanging in the air. I stared at the distorted face of the corpse, the hatred churning in my chest finally released. I slowly lowered my arm, and the gun slipped from my fingers, landing on the carpet with a thud. My father suddenly turned me around, his rough thumb wiping under my eyes. I realized that I was crying. Dad. I grabbed his arm, feeling the muscles under his clothes tensed. Yes, baby. His breathing was heavy, and a suppressed sob escaped his throat. A smile slowly bloomed on my face, and I reached out and wrapped my arms around his trembling back. My voice was soft, but it echoed in the silent room. From today on, I'll take over the family business. His body stiffened, and he pushed me away, his red eyes staring at me, his expression complex, as if trying to see something. I met his gaze, straightening my spine. He looked me up and down, then opened his arms and hugged me tightly, tightly. That hug was worth